So let's dive into some of these bullet points then, right? I have a whole section here called the Big Three. I want to know, because this is something we asked 10 years ago, what consoles will there be?
Oh, yeah. 10 years makes it tough.
Of course.
There will be a Nintendo and there will be a PlayStation. There will also be an Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will there be a new entry? Will someone else step in? Does it always have to be the big three?
We were still hung up last time with Amazon and Activision.
Yeah.
Are they going to enter the console market?
I think now it's China, right? I think now it's looking at the Tencents and those type of groups, and I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that we are at a point already that it is more ecosystem, digital based, app based, storefront based. But yeah, I think all three of the big three currently will still have consoles out in 10 years, new consoles.
You know, the rumor was, right, that Xbox's next thing could dual boot. That was one of the rumors Paris was talking about. We've seen them around the scuttlebutt. Do you think you see PlayStation do that as well? Like, I have the same questions we have here, and I think at the top level we can all answer them. Like, will PlayStation exist? Will Xbox exist? Will Nintendo exist? I think yes across the board, right?
Yep.
I think they could and probably will look dramatically different in the same way if we were to dial back 10 years ago, what you're talking about. Xbox does not look like Xbox then, right? Even PlayStation to a degree, but it also looks the most reminiscent. Nintendo's gone through such a shift because of the success of Switch and where they're at. But I do wonder about the boxes and what that is. And one of the questions I had here that I'd like your opinions on to piggyback off this, right? What does success look like for first parties in 2035?
I think it continues to look different for each of them.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that it's a trend that really started. I mean, debatably, Nintendo started it with the Wii when it decided to be completely underpowered. Like, that was a choice strategically. But I think that this generation that we're currently in of the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch, like each one of them were clearly going down different paths. And I feel like Xbox kind of fumbled down the path in a bunch of ways, but found the direction. And where they're going down now, it's like, yeah, I think this is going to really pay off for them. And I think that they're going to, in terms of sales, absolutely crush. I think it's cheating because they just bought everybody, and yeah, that's how that works. But like, I do think that they are easily going to be like the biggest publisher.
So then I want to bring this question in because I think it's tied to this, right? But I wrote down, what are the rankings of the first parties in 2035? Because my bold thing to say right here, a decade out, being Mr. PlayStation and loving my PlayStation so much, I think they're in third place. And I know that we're talking it's a very hard conversation because now you're saying, well, what metric of success are we talking about, right? Where I think so many of us right now in 2025 would be like, man, PlayStation won this generation. When it's like, well, no, Nintendo, they went a different direction and like number of units sold and mindshare kicked the shit out of PlayStation, right? But it's like not what we think of. We think of the AAA box. This is what we're going for where Nintendo isn't playing that game. Xbox lost so badly last generation that they stopped playing that game and made a big deal this generation of we're not playing that game anymore. I think in 10 years, based on what we're seeing right now in the Xbox PlayStation race, I think Xbox has set themselves up so well to be the most successful between Xbox and PlayStation because I think they're gonna be ahead on cloud, they're gonna be ahead on the app, they're gonna be ahead on play it on whatever device you want. The campaign that's running right now, this is an Xbox, right? This is an Xbox. I think PlayStation is going to realize, if they haven't already, that was a great move on where the tech is going, and by the time they start trying to spin that up, it'll be hard, I think personally, to get the same hopeful mind share out of an audience, out of the world, that's what they're doing.
I mean, there's so many variables, obviously, with trying to predict this stuff, but I think we look at Sony and go, oh, they won, right? And, we're discounting that Nintendo's still dominating, but they beat Xbox because they have the IP, right? They have the IP that's on HBO. They have the IP that, when we're talking these first-party, third-person action games that we think about are the big sort of, those are the ones that you look at and go, man, Xbox needs 4 of those, and they have none right now. But I don't know if it all depends on, does Sony stick with the just first-party strategy, or do they eventually start to kind of take notes and see, oh shit, Xbox is selling a lot more copies for their first-party games, first-party, because they're going everywhere now. Do we sort of follow suit? And I know that everybody's like really certain that they're never going to do that. For me, I just think that executives up top go, well, doing that equals more money. So yes, let's do that.
I mean, 10 years ago, we were certain probably that they want to put it on PC, right?
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that specifically.
Yeah.
We were way more talking about, oh, well, if this NX thing doesn't hit Nintendo hat, we'll be putting everything out multi-platform. They'll just be a third-party publisher. They'll just be Sega. I think, again, as we've seen these walls fall down, like, it's inevitable that PlayStation releases will be day one on PC as well. I know we can point to Helldivers, but I mean bigger things too, because I think eventually you're going to see these numbers, in my mind, of what's going with PC gaming shift in a way that, all right, so many people have gone to PC. There are so many people that haven't and still own a PlayStation. There are the people who want it cross-buy, cross-play, all this stuff. Like, just give it to them that way. I think convenience in meeting gamers where they want to be is what the next 10 years is all about. We're already seeing it now. But it's such an old example, I think, of IGN when we were there, right before you were there, when you were there. But like old IGN, where we had a conversation. I remember being there in whatever year it was. I can't remember if you're actually there or not. But of like, are we putting IGN videos on YouTube? And the answer it was no. We have IGN.com. People will come to us and they will watch videos on IGN.com. And that was wrong, right? And we learned the hard way at the time of like, no, you need to go meet the gamer, the consumer where they are. And clearly the consumer, I think, is speaking right now loudly of, I want my games everywhere. I want to be able to play. I want to have some fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of am on the other side of this one.
Please.
I think that you guys are making a lot of sense, but I think that with where we're at, PlayStation's in a different place. When we talk about the prestige games and like what people think the general public thinks about PlayStation, they still have that. I don't think they're going to lose that. I think 10 years is a long time. There will be a lot of technological changes that could make everything I'm saying wrong. But I think that to Andy's point, Xbox is selling more than they have ever, whatever, with these games because they're putting on a console that has an insane install base. PlayStation putting their games on Xbox doesn't have that. So it's like not necessarily going to change that so much. PlayStation games being on PC day one, I do think that is an inevitability. That should be the goal. I imagine that will happen.
I mean, PlayStation put it on Nintendo is what I'm talking.
Yeah.
Like PlayStation going everywhere. Like,
yeah. And the Nintendo thing I do think is an interesting possibility there. But I think that PlayStation's going to continue to try to be on the highest end and really be the ones to push the boundaries, where I do think everyone else is going to start to go a little bit lower and follow more. As Nintendo reaches up with the tech, I think that everyone else is going to kind of come down a little bit to get on all the handhelds and all that. I think that PlayStation is going to, in the same way that people buy 4K Blu-ray players because they want that dedicated physical hardware that it can do it the best. I think that PlayStation is going to be the last remaining console that is trying to be the best console. And I think that is going to speak to core gamers that I think will always exist. I think that their numbers will dwindle, but I think in 10 years, there's still going to be place for a system, a video game console that is the best way to play these games. And the only way to play these games, I mean, maybe not only because of PC and stuff, but I would not be surprised if PlayStation doubles down and is like, our games are only on PlayStation 6.
For all the FLAC audio users out there.
Yeah.
I also wanted to point out that like 10 years obviously seems like a lifetime, especially when tech is constantly evolving the way it is. But even I know SteamDB isn't everything, and even I kind of hate when SteamDB is like the only thing that people ever reference when they're looking at numbers and stuff. But PUBG is an 8-year-old game by this point. PUBG came out in 2017. It's almost a decade old, and it's still number 3 on the most concurrent players right now, 225K. There's such a great chance that the games out right now are still going to be dominating, just like Counter-Strike 2, which is a more visual upgrade to Counter-Strike, right, Mike? Like Counter-Strike is still 1.2 million concurrents right now at the top of the charts. And I think we will, like, there's a good chance that the top 5 games being played in 2035, that 1 or 2 of them came out this year or are out already or just came out recently or whatever. But I also wanted to call out that when we were talking about, does anybody else have can any other company kind of enter in here? When we talked about how Google Glass and all that and Google Stadia being way ahead of the curve, I think Steam machines were way ahead of the curve. And I think Valve with the Steam Deck is showing that they are taking hardware seriously. And I could see them selling a Mac Mini looking console that
some
is
type
just
of Steam machine?
Steam Machine is what they were called. Yeah, Steam Machines were way ahead of the game. And I think if we see a little baby mini thing that they put out that's like $600, it runs everything faster and better than what you got right now. But it's a little tiny PC or whatever. And maybe it's got the Steam storefront or it has the Steam OS as opposed to just straight up Windows. I think they were still ahead of the curve way back in the day with Steam Machines and their stupid ass controller that didn't feel good or look good.
Yes.
But
we
I
got no
think
joysticks, just these two satellite dishes.
awful,
It's a
terrible,
mouse pad.
terrible idea. But I really do think that them seeing the sort of excitement, enthusiasm for their hardware with these little with the Steam Deck, that could evolve in the future.
So here's
Just real quick.
I want to stay in this.
Yeah,
Valve
me too.
scheme.
Just real
Okay,
quick,
okay.
I just want to say, again, you're making a lot of sense. I think that it will happen. I think Steam will put out a more like dedicated, like not desktop, like home theater top setup. I think all things considered, it's going to be a non-factor. Like I don't think that it's going to sales wise make up for anything in the conversation of like the console space. Like I think that it'll sell significantly less even than the Xbox Series S or X.
Mike was bringing up earlier, kids want PCs more nowadays. And I totally agree just based, I mean, this is all anecdotal, but seeing my nephew who only watches streamers and watches like, you know, people playing PC games, if you could tell a family who has a son that really wants that expensive PC, oh, Steam, they're selling that Steam box for $700, $800, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
As opposed to the big $2,000, $1,500 PC you might want to buy. This is an equivalent of that, as opposed to the PlayStation where he wants to play on keyboard mouse. I don't know. That's all peripheral based, and maybe things change in the future. But I think that with the younger audience, they are seeing their favorite personalities play on PC, and that's, I think, only going to continue to grow.
My question in all this would be, I doubt, not that I don't think it could happen, obviously, but I doubt Valve's interest in entering into the hardware market, whether it be a box or anything else, because I think they did what they needed to do, where the Steam machines were a great idea, too complicated, didn't work in terms of like an easy marketing ploy, right? The Steam Deck came out and was like what so many of us had been saying, like, oh man, the Switch is great. I wish you could play real games, in quotes. That's insulting. But you know what I mean? Of like Witcher 3 at max settings and blah, blah. They make the Steam Deck really make a splash in our market, not in the, wider mainstream thing. And that has inspired, right, Republic of Gamers, and has inspired so many other people to do this and tinker and blah, blah. And I think my perception of Valve would be they saw that and they went, excellent. And I'm not saying they don't do another Steam Deck, but I think they step back and let everybody else run with these ideas. And one of them, I would think, makes the box. And again, if it is true, this rumor that Xbox is doing this, the next generation Xbox also boots Steam and boots Epic and does whatever it does, right? If they're able to do that, then that's the ultimate Trojan horse to get PC gaming in at an affordable price point, theoretically, that you could do. And I think that's more interesting to Valve, who already makes money hand over fist. They've done what they needed. I feel right now, 10 years before you watch this future, Greg, that they pushed the snowball at the top of the hill. And I do think it's gaining momentum and becoming a snow boulder as it goes. In 10 years, will it be this giant thing that runs over a town? Who knows? But I think that's more of what Valve's position would be.
This episode is sponsored by Subway Surfers, the goated endless runner that carried me through middle school, high school, college, and now adulthood is celebrating their 13th birthday, which also marks their 200th World Tour update. And they're going big, because Subway Surfers decided to travel to not one, not two, but 21 different locations in their 200th World Tour special event. As Kinda Funny's resident Zoomer, I can seriously say that I adore Subway Surfers. It's one of my favorite comfort games. Grabbing items, completing challenges, and pulling out a hoverboard right as I'm about to hit a train feels just as good now as it did when I was sitting in the back of Mr. Coburn's Spanish class. Play through all 21 destinations to unlock amazing rewards such as characters, hoverboards, and in-game currency. Just tap the 200th World Tour button on the screen to start playing.
And exclusively for best friends, head over to kindafunny.com/subwaysurfers or scan the QR code on screen to get a ton of special in-game rewards.
The update ends on June 1st, so scan that QR code, download Subway Surfers, and start running if you don't want to miss out on all the rewards. I already did. This episode is brought to you by Factor. When life gets busy, food can sometimes feel like a chore, and the fast food trips can go from a weekly to daily occurrence very fast. So buck those trends and make this season your best with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. Choose from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. We at Kinda Funny love Factor meals. Les and Greg love it for a quick lunch in between shows, and I adore it as a healthier alternative instead of the dreaded hump day, too tired to cook, drive-through run, helping me to get on track with my goals. Get started at factormeals.com/kindafunny50off and use code kindafunny50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code kindafunny50off at factormeals.com/kindafunny50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Factormeals.com/kindafunny50off.
Tim, am I wrong?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a lot to even what you just said there, but I think that I think that Steam will put out hardware, and I think that it'll be a success to the people that it is. I think the most important thing of all of this is that developers prioritize their games on Steam Deck. So even though Steam Deck does not have this giant actual foothold in the industry, it matters enough to the developers because the people that are playing are fucking engaging and they're really playing and they care. And so I feel like doubling down on that over time, that is going to make the size of the PC gaming audience bigger, but I think the importance of the users on it even more so.
And to Andy's point that everybody's their content creators and the people that are watching are using PCs, right? Let's go for a walk. Tim, what was our most successful Let's Play of all time?
Guitar Hero?
Guitar Hero. Do you remember why? We had broken off 10 years ago from IGN and started our own company, Kinda Funny. And we got hit up about this Guitar Hero event, and we said, yeah, we can come play. Do you mind if we come record our own footage and do a Let's Play live? And they were like, hold on. And they went and talked to people like, no, you can, whatever. We were the only people to do that because we had those Shoguns, the little things that plugged and played, and it was like a game changer in terms of like, you can do this kind of content on the road. And then you jumped ahead 6 months and all of our peers were bringing those kind of things, and you jumped ahead a year and every demo you went to had the Shoguns there ready to record. Where I'm driving with this is that when I bought my Steam Deck and was so excited for it, every time a code came in for review and it's only on PC, I would be like, cool, does it run on Steam Deck? And I don't know, let me go check. And they come back yes or no, whatever it was, right? Now I would say the majority of emails we get are like, here's your code on PC, here's the information if it works or doesn't work on Steam Deck. And so many times, it isn't running on Steam Deck yet, but it will be verified at launch. Like, they are telling us, are we, the games journalists, games press, game influencers, whoever's getting these codes, are we everybody? No, but it shows that enough people are asking that same question and then turning around like I am and being like, cool, there's a new Starfield update today. Everybody's talking about, I'm playing anywhere. Well, I have my PC version of Starfield that I'm logging into right now to add the coins to buy the thing so that when I get home, I can play it on my Series X, but I can also play it here. Like, I'm talking about the ROG Ally in a way, with an excitement that I haven't talked about a hard piece of hardware in a long, long time.
He's been awakened.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
dangerous.
that desire from gamers that have always had of, I want to play my games anywhere at any time,
Yeah.
right? And so we are barreling towards that, whether it be on your phone, on a handheld, on a screen, or a dedicated console. I think 10 years from now, it will continue to be that, and that's what gamers want. And whoever is finding that, whoever is first to that, whoever can really find that and put out great titles and games, that's what they want. That's what we're going to see. I mean, everybody wants that right now. Is right, Greg. I want to be able to play anything at any time. I love that. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, who's going to do that?
Timothy, I like talking to you about this. Now, what I want to know is about the Nintendo Switch. I want to know about this Nintendo Switch too. And one of the questions I have here is like, are we on the eve? Are we talking about that Nintendo Switch 3 in 10 years when we do this? Are we on the eve of the release of the Nintendo Switch 3? Are they calling it the Nintendo Switch 3? What is Nintendo's next 10 years?
Yeah, we'll have a Switch 3 in 10 years. Like, we'll already have been a year or two into it, I would imagine.
Okay.
There's so many questions about the success of the Switch 2, though. Like, I think that just the time, the world we're in right now with all of the politics and tariffs and just all of this shit, it's going to be rough. And because of all of that, Nintendo's either going to grand slam knock it out of the park and continue to sell out and all of that, or I think other factors are getting in the way. I think they are primed for it. Like, I think that we 10 years ago talking about where we're at the Wii U and the 3DS. Now we're talking about the Switch. They have got to the point that we are almost 10 years into their handheld and console development cycles being one. And I think that we're going to get a incredibly consistent output from Nintendo over the next couple years supporting the Switch 2. And I think it's going to continue the success that the Switch 1 had in terms of having the majority of their first-party games be purchased by the majority of people that have a Switch 2. So because of that, and I think just like having the momentum so early going into it, and also still having the Switch 1 audience, like Nintendo as a whole, they're not going to give up on the Switch 1 for years from now. Like we have at least 2 years of support of this thing. So I feel like this generation, unless things get horribly worse than they are currently, I think it's going to be Nintendo's strongest generation yet.
Andy, you agree with that?
Man, I it's just so hard for me to think about the future of all of it, because I wonder where, like, when these consoles start to stagnate, or when these have we kind of hit the top of the mountain already, and how much
Sorry, just real quick,
Yeah.
because the point that I want to make, just that I want you to then jump off, is that I should have said here is the reason I think so highly of the Switch 2 is they're going to continue their first party stuff, but it's the third party that's going to be the game changer. So
okay. Well, part of me wonders if Nintendo is the company that will most resemble a video game company in the future. And what I mean by that is where gaming is first, where I feel like PlayStation sees the success of maybe their IP doing movies, and Xbox wanting to be everywhere and just kind of be an app on your screen, like how you can, open up Amazon or whatever the hell on your TV. I feel like Nintendo will be the company to look most like the game box in the future, with it's going to resemble more of what we think of if you looked on clip art for video games.
Yeah.
And I feel like every other company will try to do what Xbox did with the Xbox One, and how much of a disaster that was, but it was really just way ahead of its time. Like a lot of the other kind of failures we've talked about. I think Nintendo will continue to be just the gaming platform, with maybe some gimmicks that continue to not really get fully fleshed out, like the webcam stuff and things like that. You know?
What I'm fascinated about with Nintendo is now we see such a push with more handhelds, Tim. We see a push of play anywhere. Is there going to be more competition against Nintendo to have them change their ways? When I think Nintendo, it's the games, right? I think it's the parents who grew up with Nintendo. They know it's a family-friendly, safe platform to put their kids on and have them grow in video gaming. But now with the hardware, like you said, right, it's getting better and the others are pushing higher, but eventually we'll kind of get to a moment where everything is close. Does Nintendo see a lot of competition and have to change their ways? Or, I agree with Andy of it feels like Nintendo's going to be Nintendo in 10 years. It's easy to say that, but do we see them massively change?
I mean, I think the biggest difference, and we're going to see it in just a few weeks. I'm telling you all right now. I brought
2
this
weeks
up a
from
couple days
today.
ago. Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a gigantic surprise to people, and how well it sells and the response and reception to it on the Switch 2. I could be totally off, and the thing is, if it comes out and it runs like shit and people don't like it and it doesn't review well, I take back everything I'm saying for this. But I think that this is going to be a statement piece that CD Projekt Red they're not doing the stupid game card key, whatever the hell thing. They're sticking to, we're doing the big one. We're investing in that because we believe in it. Nintendo players buy physical games. They still matter. There's the digital sales, but then there's still this toy level appreciation of Nintendo being seen as a video game console that I think works in their benefit. And the third parties that adapt that philosophy, I think, are going to find a lot of success because Nintendo fans will reward them. And to your point, Mike, it's right now Nintendo fans buy Pikmin and Animal Crossing and Mario and Zelda and stuff. If we can now get people also buying all the Square games on Switch, all of the Capcom games, all of the Ubisoft games.
Can they make it good enough?
Good enough. And I think that's the big thing is, yes, there's a lot more competition in terms of there's stronger handhelds available or whatever, but there's still tinkering. It's still PC gaming. As easy to use as the Steam Deck is, it's not nearly as easy as Nintendo.
Of course.
The thing is, it still has to work. It can't be like Switch 1 where it's like these are the worst ports ever. They need to be like, oh, these are good ports. It has to be good.
Yeah.
If it's good, I think that Nintendo's about to just run with this shit because the fact of the matter is we don't need to wait for a PlayStation handheld. We don't need to wait for a can it play via cloud or whatever. It is a handheld device.
there.
And the tech's there. Like we're getting the HDR. We're getting the VRR on the portable side of it. Like it's 4K. Like they've said everything they need to be in the competition, and they're already winning so many other areas of the competition that all they need is third parties. And if they get that, holy crap, man, they're about to take over.
And the bigger question is, do we also see a Pokemon Land theme park in the future?
Oh,
come on,
hell
man.
yeah.
dude.
Now,
Come on.
I mean, that's it. Within 10 years,
Yeah, that's what you
it's
want.
happening, baby.
Now, really quick, 10 years is a long time. We
Yes.
will be done with the
I wanna
Switch
know.
2. We'll be moving into the next one. Tim, are they going to stick with the dual handheld
Oh,
slash
yeah.
home console?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
will they ever move away from that?
See, this goes back to what you were saying about, eventually we don't want a hardware. It's like we just want to think. The thing about the handhelds is you need a controller. No matter what, you need a controller. What screen you're using, whether it's glasses or a TV or a screen in between a controller, you still need a screen, right? So because of that, I feel like the Switch is. We're already kind of saying this, but in 10 years, we're going to be like, dude, the Switch was ahead of its time, right? Like the fact that it is the console that you can plug into the TV and just take with you, it checks all the things you need for video games, control input and visual display. I think that it'll continue to do that.